Welcome, children. Do you know that India was ruled by the British for nearly 2 centuries or 200 years? The British are the citizens of Britain or the people of the United Kingdom. In this chapter, British rule in India, we shall see how Britishers came to India as traders and slowly plundered and looted India and finally became the rulers of Indian Empire. During the 15th century, the European sailors undertook remarkable explorations of sea routes. They wanted to explore routes that reached the Indian subcontinent. On 20th May 1498, Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese sailor, landed in Calicut, present-day Kozhikode, in Kerala. This exploration opened the gates of India for the Europeans. In the 17th century, the Dutch, the English, and the French followed the Portuguese to Asia for trade and wealth. The Europeans mostly came in search of spices, textiles, and sugar, along with some other goods. But the most profitable trade was the spice trade. In the year 1600, in Britain, the English East India Company acquired a charter from Queen Elizabeth I, granting permission to trade with India. In 1613, the English secured the rights from Jahangir, the Mughal emperor, to erect a factory to store goods at Surat. Later in the year 1651, a factory was established in Bengal. In 1696, a fortified factory was set up at Sultanati, Calcutta, later which was also known as the Fort William. This act of the British made a huge impact on the local rulers of their revenue. The Britishers gained more concessions and exploited the existing privileges granted to them for trade in India. The Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Dowla, was not very happy with the Britishers. Thus, a battle was fought between them at the PLASSEY village of Murshidabad in 1757. This battle was known as the Battle of PLASSEY. Siraj lost the battle as his leading general, Mir Jafar, joined hands with the East India Company. This act of Mir Jafar changed the course of Indian history. After the defeat of Siraj-ud-Dowla, Mir Jafar was made the Nawab of Bengal. The Britishers got enormous wealth from this victory and strengthened the power in India. The British emerged as kingmakers in Bengal and started ruling Bengal under the name of English East India Company. Bengal was one of the richest provinces of India. The victory of the British in the Battle of BUXAR in 1764 further strengthened the company. On one side, the combined forces of Mir Qasim, the Nawab of Bengal, Shuja-ud-Dowla, the Nawab of Awadh, and Shah Alam II, the Mughal emperor on one side and the company on the other. The war was fought at BUXAR, then within the territory of Bengal and presently in BUXAR, Bihar. This victory secured the Diwani rights for the company, that is, the right to collect the land revenue of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa, now Odisha. Money was the greatest need to run the administration, and the company started exploiting the Indians in every possible means. The rule of the company ended with the Great Uprising of 1857. During these 100 years, British ruined India economically, socially, and politically. The British annexed some Indian states set under the policies of subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse, as they wanted to expand their control over India. The subsidiary alliance was a policy designed by the Governor-General Lord Wellesley. Any Indian ruler who signed this agreement was promised protection from external attacks and internal revolts. For this, the ruler had to keep British troops in the territory. The rulers were forced to keep a British official called resident at their court. As a result, the rulers had to suspend their native armies. The doctrine of lapse. The doctrine of lapse was a policy devised by the Governor-General, Lord Dalhousie. According to this policy, any princely state or territory under the direct influence of the British Indian East Company would be annexed if the ruler died without a male heir of the same blood. His kingdom would then become a part of the British Empire. The Indian sepoys who helped the British to set up their power were treated with great contempt, as they were not given promotion and were paid very less, which led to widespread dissatisfaction amongst people and needed a spark to ignite. The introduction of the new 1853 Enfield rifle sparked the situation. The cartridge was used in the rifle had a greased paper cow. It had to be bitten off before loading the rifle. It was rumored that the grease used in these cartridges included cow fat or pig lard. This enraged both the Hindu and the Muslim sepoys. To the sepoys, it appeared that the British were trying to tarnish the religion of the Indian people. This incident became the immediate cause of the uprising and set the country ablaze. In March 1857, Mangal Pandey, a soldier of 34th BNI, Bengal Native Infantry at Barrackpur, refused to use the grease cartridge and attacked his senior officers. Later, the uprising spread to Meerut, Delhi, Agra, Kanpur, and Lucknow. It did not bear fruit the way it was expected. Mangal Pandey was sentenced to death. The uprising did not spread to other parts of the country. The impact of the Great Uprising of 1857 did not spread because it was highly unorganized and unplanned movement. Lot of Indian rulers was not ready for the revolt, so there was inefficient leadership. The superior military strategy of the British soon made an end to the uprising. The changes the Great Uprising made in the history are: the British East India Company came to an end. Queen Victoria was made the Empress of India. She issued a proclamation promising to look after the welfare of Indian people. The Indian states were made to recognize the supremacy of the British. The Great Uprising of 1857 was the first attempt on a larger scale to mobilize the Indians to overthrow the British rule. Therefore, some historians have described the Great Uprising of 1857 as a first war of independence. This map depicts the extent of Indian Empire that the Britishers have conquered up until 1947. After a long freedom fight of over 200 years, India gained freedom from the British rule on 15th August 1947. Many national leaders played an important role in India's freedom struggle. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, being one of the most prominent leader who was later titled the Father of the Nation.